Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Sunday, November 10th, 2024. Glad you guys are here today. And we're going to get into some topics today that are going to get us all updated on what's going on post-election. I know a lot of channels have already exposed Vice President-elect Vance and his ties to Palantir, which of course is the military artificial intelligence apparatus. And there are several programs under the Palantir umbrella. We're going to double down on those. And the reason why we're going to double down on those is because it appears as though our suspicions have been correct about Palantir and Vance. I told you this would emerge, that Palantir would emerge under Vance and under Trump as an apparatus, and now it has happened. What am I talking about? Well, Palantir just went super viral. What do I mean? Well, check this out, you guys. Now, this is troubling. This is the shape of things to come. This is not a good omen. On the heels of the election announcement and Trump's win, and of course, Vance underneath him, Palantir shares closed 23%. 23%. Huge bump in Palantir stock. And that, of course, is because of the win. The two are connected. And this is the shape of things to come, you guys. 23% stock bump. Now, why do we think this is? Well, let's read a little bit about this. Palantir shares finished up 23% on Tuesday for a record close after the data analytics software maker reported robust third quarter results and issued uplifting revenue guidance. The stock reached a closing high of $51 above the prior record of $44 reached last week. The gains marked the stock's biggest jump since February 6th, when shares popped 30%. So, what does this all mean? Well, we're going to break this down because, Trump has been talking a lot about rule of law and implementing the law, enforcing the law. So why wouldn't he resort to some kind of artificial intelligence to do this, right? Here's more news. This was a couple days ago. Palantir rakes in $7.7 billion, mere peanuts next to this. So they are on the upswing. Now, what is Palantir? Well, we're going to break that down because this is very, very important. Why should we be concerned? Well, according to Palantir, it was named after the all-seeing eye in Lord of the Rings. And that's appropriate because the AI Palantir technology is just that. It's an all-seeing eye. There was a time in the truth community where everybody knew that the dollar bill had a pyramid with an all-seeing eye on top. And then as long as that dollar bill had a pyramid with all-seeing eye on top, that our government was evil, right and left. People used to know that government was two wings of the same bird. But then all of a sudden, Trump came into power and everybody put their truth knowledge on the shelf and voted. What are Palantir's three projects? Gotham, Foundry, and Apollo. Gotham, Foundry, and Apollo. We're going to go through these projects underneath Palantir. Gotham is the project used for what they call counter-terrorism. Now, it's interesting here because they don't really specifically say if this is foreign or domestic. This is the Department of Defense, and it says here essentially that Project Gotham is pre-crime. Let's read, you guys. Here it is in black and white. This is obviously a statement that the company released. says here, released in 2008, Palantir Gotham is Palantir's defense and intelligence offering. It is an evolution of Palantir's long-standing work in the United States intelligence community and is used by intelligence and defense agencies. Among other things, the software supports alerts, listen carefully, geospatial analysis, and prediction. Users can use Gotham to analyze multiple types of intelligence. Palantir's online demo shows how the software can be used to track an adversary's troop movements. Foreign customers include the Ukrainian military. So, to even name foreign customers, that would be foreign. It implies here that there's a domestic component to this as well. Let's keep reading. Palantir Gotham has also been used as a predictive policing system. Predictive policing system, which has elicited some controversy over racism in their AI analytics. Now, let all that sink in for a second. It's all great if you believe Trump and take him at his word that all of this is going to be projected onto the left, right? This is what he's telling us, that the left will be the ones who he's going to go after with the military. But will that ever happen? I don't believe it will. I don't believe it will. Now let me check in with you guys. We're going to get into the other two Palantir projects. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Now, on a different note, I caught wind that Now You See TV used a clip from our channel. That's awesome. That's a blessing to get the word out on other platforms and other channels. And I always give people my blessing if they want to use any clips. They don't even have to ask me for permission. So that's amazing that you guys saw and heard that. And so this is our future, you guys. Good morning. So this is what was voted for overwhelmingly. Palantir. Now, let's get into these other Palantir projects. Project Foundry. Now, what is Project Foundry about? Well, let's take a look because it's just as alarming. COVID electronic health records. Remember way back when Obama was president and we did videos exposing the electronic health records and how that was tied into national health care. And I told you guys it was alarming that there's no way that doctors should be forced or incentivized to convert their paper charts into electronic medical records because the government can then go poking around in people's electronic files and that all of your privacy would go away. Remember all those discussions? For those of you that don't think that I pick on the left, we exposed that. And I told you about my role in doing just that because I was a pharmaceutical rep and I did copier sales before that. And we were told to go, we actually had machines, copy machines that could digitize the paper charts. You put it in like a paper feeder and it would scan it and turn it into a PDF file to help the doctors. And then again, after that, in pharmaceutical sales, I did the same thing. You only see this stuff in hindsight. At the time, I had no idea what all this was about. Even though I've always been conservative and right-leaning, I still didn't understand it. All I remember is we didn't like Obamacare, but I didn't even know that it was linked into this whole push to digitize everything and put it into electronic medical records. Now, at that time, doctors were receiving huge amounts of money to comply with this. Why do you think that is? Because the government can now go in and poke around in people's accounts in their medical history. Now, the way they get around this is they say, oh, we're the government and we value your privacy. So we won't ever use that information with your name on it. They do what's called de-identifying someone. So they put up, they basically redact it. But here's the problem. That means putting complete and total trust in a government that they're going to use this information in an ethical way. And I don't know about you, but I don't want a government knowing my personal medical history. But yet, that's exactly what happened. Now, there was proof of this during the pandemic. They actually came right out and admitted it. They're like, yeah, we just go into people's electronic medical records and we can see who's been vaccinated and who hasn't. It's a tracking and tracing system. Just as we said it would be before that even happened. We told you they're going to use the electronic medical records during the pandemic, and that's absolutely what they did. Now, let's back up a little bit. Electronic health records essentially gives up your medical privacy to the government. Now, they paired this move with the HIPAA laws. And they did that on purpose because they wanted to give you the illusion of privacy while they took your privacy away. Okay, so they paired it with HIPAA. HIPAA only protects you from knowing someone else's information. It doesn't protect you from the government knowing your information. That's not what HIPAA does. It's, I guess you could call it tier-to-tier privacy, but not government privacy or your privacy from the government. Now, so how does this all fit into Palantir? Well, let's take a look because it says right here, Palantir Foundry. They're the ones that use this data. Let's read this. Palantir Foundry is a software platform offered for use in commercial and civil government sectors. It was popularized for use in the health sector by its use within the National COVID Cohort Collaborative, a secure enclave of electronic health records from across the United States that produce hundreds of scientific manuscripts. See, so they already used your data to produce these manuscripts. Foundry was also utilized by the Centre NHS England in dealing with the pandemic. So this was used worldwide to analyze the operation of the vaccination program, just as I said. A campaign was started against the company in June 2021 by Foxglove, a tech justice nonprofit, because their background was generally been in contracts where people are harmed, not healed. It says here, as of 2022, Foundry was also used for the administration of UK Homes for Ukraine program to give caseworkers employed by local authorities access to data held by the Department of Leveling Up. In November 2023, NHS England awarded a 7-year contract to Palantir for federated data platform to access data from different systems through a single system. You guys, this is government healthcare. Oh, but Trump's going to get rid of that. No, he's not. He's doubling down on it. The government being involved in your health is government healthcare. Now, I remember way back when all this was going down, they were any doctors that, they basically, here's how they force doctors to do it. In California, most doctors contract with Medicare, Medi-Cal, right? And I'm just going by memory here. I used to have a much deeper knowledge base about all this when I was in the industry. But back then, essentially what happened was these doctors had to contract with Medicare, Medi-Cal to make a substantial part of their income. If they did not do that, they could not survive off of private insurance. So, in doing Medicare, Medi-Cal, that was linked to the government. So the government almost made it a requirement. Hey, if you're going to continue to get reimbursed for Medicare, Medi-Cal, you are going to have to convert to electronic medical records. And this is how they forced it. Now, all of that was under the Obama administration, but it's still in play now. And doubled down with the company, Palantir, who Vance worked for many years and was given $15 million for his campaign. So that's the Vance connection to Palantir. Now, let's get into the last aspect of Palantir. Palantir Apollo. Now, of course, we know the implications of this. We know what Apollo is. We've talked all about it for about 5 years. But in this case, Apollo is the framework for Gotham and Foundry. Now I'm going to go back into the chat because one of you already knows what all this means. Apollo. What does Apollo represent? Let's see who gets the answer. Who is Apollo? And what do I say over and over again about him? About what he does and what he offers and what he represents as a false god. Okay, hopefully this chat is mostly caught up. And then your mind is going to be blown because one of the next person is going to make the connection of what Gotham and Foundry really represents. Once you think about the Apollo aspect, it will all make sense. Yes, ain't buying it. He brings the disease and the cure. Now, what does Project Gotham do and what does Project Foundry do? Now, I was blown away when the Holy Spirit revealed this connection, and I might have to give you guys a clue about this, but just imagine cradle to grave. What is the cradle? It's the Foundry. The cradle is the Foundry. It's health. It's birth, right? And what is the grave? The grave is Gotham. Seek and destroy. Birth and death. And all of it is run by the Apollo program. Are you awake yet? I hope you are. Because this is what America voted for. A false god of life and death. The Foundry, all your electronic health records, birth, health, and death, which is Gotham. What kind of person comes up with this stuff? It has to be supernatural. It has to be spiritual. Because no human being that I know alive is that evil. Now, mind blown, right? Mind blown. Are you guys seeing the connection here? Apollo, life and death, a disease cure, and Foundry Gotham. I hope you're seeing this. It's pretty simple, but I just want to make sure you're making the connection because this is very, very important to understand this. Now, let's switch gears here. We all remember the Francis Scott Key Bridge. I've been screening a TV series called SEAL Team. And we all remember the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse in Baltimore when the container ship named the Dolly crashed into the bridge after it seemed to have lost control. It was like something else took control of the container ship. Well, watch this.
4 days ago, off the coast of Japan, a Navy supply ship collided with a container ship. Nav systems of both ships were compromised.
Just an hour ago, a Filipino tanker in the Sulu Sea was targeted by the same malware.
Captain, the navigation system isn't responding. We're heading right for that ship. Go to manual.
4 maritime collisions in the region in the past 4 months.
It won't respond. Override. Captain, I tried to override. Someone else has control of our ship.
2 mysterious plane crashes.
Captain, coming at us, port side. Sound the alarm. Listen alarm, not initiating. Brace for impact.
Remote takeover of all navigational systems.
Who could pull that off?
Not many. One casualty, $1 billion of damages. The collision was as a result of a coordinated cyber attack.
Ran into an underwater mountain. Had that tanker been full, we'd be looking at a massive ecological disaster.
We were able to pinpoint the source of the most recent attack to a...
Wow. Mind blown. Mind blown. Malware attack. Maritime disasters crashing into each other. Now, this is pretty shocking, isn't it? Oh, well, Casey, they just, no, they just made an episode after that happened to kind of copy what already happened. No, this was an episode from the second season of SEAL Team that aired in 2019. Now, as you saw, the episode was set in the Philippines. Well, are there any Filipino subscribers in the chat today? Because your mind's about to be blown. Are there any Filipino subscribers in the chat today? Because you already are probably screaming at the top of your lungs going, Casey, there's a grocery chain in the Philippines that's exclusive to the Philippines. It's a discount grocery chain. Does anyone know the name of it? Now, even if you took a wild guess, you'd probably get the answer correct. Let's see who knows the answer. What is the name of the discount chain grocery store that's all over the Philippines and is specific to the Philippines? Spread the Messenger says, my sister-in-law is from the Philippines. You probably would have to have lived there to know this. Those are some good guesses, Palantir, Apollo, but that's not the answer. It links back to the Francis Scott Key Bridge. I'll just give you the answer. It doesn't look like we have too many Filipino subscribers. Are you ready for this? Eric's been there on vacation twice. Okay, so if you went to the discount grocery store, do you remember the name of it? Eric, he probably doesn't remember, but it's exclusive to the Philippines. We have Aldi here, so that would be similar. Okay. When you scramble Aldi, you get Dolly. And this is the same name of the container ship that hit the Francis Scott Key Bridge. It is specific and exclusive to the Philippines. It's basically Aldi's, except it's scrambled Dolly. Swiss international hard discount retail chain with a primary focus on Southeast Asia, particularly the Philippines. There it is in black and white. What's happening here? What is this all about? Well, this is the Matrix. Spiritual law that hopefully will help wake people up. Yeah, the ship was the Dolly. Exactly. That's why the episode took place in the Philippines. So they obviously were talking about an event that had not happened yet. It was pretty specific. Let me play back this one more time before we get into the rest of today's show.
4 days ago, off the coast of Japan, a Navy supply ship collided with a container ship. Nav systems of both ships were compromised.
Just an hour ago, Filipino tanker in the Sulu Sea was targeted by the same malware.
Captain, the navigation system isn't responding. We're heading right for that ship. Go to manual.
4 maritime collisions in the region in the past 4 months.
It won't respond. Override. Captain, I tried to override. Someone else has control of our ship.
2 mysterious plane crashes.
Captain, coming at us, port side. Sound the alarm. Listen alarm not initiating. Brace for impact.
Remote takeover of all navigational systems.
Who could pull that off?
Not many. One casualty, $1 billion of damages. The collision was as a result of a coordinated cyber attack.
Ran into an underwater mountain. Had that tanker been full, we'd be looking at a massive ecological disaster.
We were able to pinpoint the source of the most recent attack to a...
So, shocking, right? Shocking. Now, let's get into some other stuff. We're going to pick on the Democrats a little bit today. We're also going to talk about something else. Now, I've shared with you guys my frustrations about relevance online, right? And how hard work ethic has nothing to do with relevance, because the algorithms pick and choose who will reach people and who won't in this war for truth. But then sometimes I read stories like the next one that I'm going to show you. And this makes me feel like maybe we are reaching far more people than we can imagine. Remember, we were campaigning for Jesus and his kingdom to come for this election. And many of you wrote in, you went on faith, didn't you? And you wrote in Jesus Christ as king into your ballot if you did go to the ballot box. You wrote Jesus Christ is king, and you probably said the Lord's Prayer. Let his kingdom come. Let his will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Well, guess what? Russell Brand rebranded, and now I'm starting to understand what his spiritual name means. He rebranded that sentiment and twisted it so that people would still vote for Trump. Russell Brand, fake truther in chief, said, "Make Jesus first again." Sounds good, right? But the message was still to vote for Trump, defeating the entire purpose of what we tried to do, which was surrender to Christ's kingdom, not be ruled by men. Now, this lady got wrapped up in this drama. This is why Russell Brand's mentioned. Let's read this, because the story is a little bit confusing, but I'm just going to read it straight out of the article. Nicole Scherzinger faces backlash for commenting on Russell Brand's Make Jesus First Again post. Nicole Scherzinger is facing backlash for liking a post from Russell Brand. On his personal Instagram, Brand posted a picture of himself holding a hat that said, "Make Jesus First Again," seemingly an allusion to the Trump campaign's MAGA hat, and also a reference to Brand's recent conversion to Christianity. So what does CIA do? They join a movement with a popular figure, they co-opt it, and then they flip the script and manipulate it to their advantage by brainwashing people. This is why you should always be weary of ultra-viral figures, because they got there because they were let through so that they could be used to continue to mind control the public. In screenshots that circulated online, Scherzinger appeared to have replied to the picture with the comment, "Where do I get this hat?" This week, UK detectives investigating sexual assault allegations against Brand have asked prosecutors in the country to consider bringing charges against the former comedian. So, do you see what happened here? Brand pretended to convert to Christianity because they already knew they were going to take him down, and then put a smear on Christianity with these assault charges. And this is exactly what happened. And they poured salt in the wound by getting people to vote for Trump with "Make Jesus Great Again" under Russell Brand's false Christian label. You see how this works? It's chaos magic. Chaos magic. Now let me check in with you guys. We'll get into what the Democrats are up to, because the name of the show is today, "Are the Liberals Imploding?" It was weird, right? We had like a pregnant pause. At first there was radio silence, which was just bizarre. And that went on for, here we are, 5 days after the election. There hasn't been any prominent news about the Democrats and how they're feeling, what their sentiment is about all of this. I can tell you personally, we need to say a prayer for my son. His mother literally attacked him about the election because he chose not to vote. I normally don't try to air out my dirty laundry, but it kind of fits into what we're talking about here, doesn't it? The Democrats literally think that Trump is going to go into people's houses that have green cards, right? Which means they're here legally, and deport everybody. People with children, adult children. This is what he's being guilted about because he did not vote. And I'm proud of him for not voting. I'm proud that he's not being attached to all that is to come. It didn't matter who was going to get elected, as I've been trying to demonstrate to you guys. Kamala or Trump, they're two birds of the same wing. Right now, they're just trying to figure out how they're going to continue to push forward with the surveillance state without ringing any alarm bells. Unfortunately, conservatives aren't going to stand up and call Trump out when this stuff starts getting rolled out. They'll make excuses for him because they're just glad he won. Well, I'd rather have Trump. I trust Trump. He'll do the right thing. Maybe we should do biometrics. Then that way, everyone will be documented. And they'll give in. And the Democrats will pretend to oppose it. They'll tell all their constituents, oppose it under privacy. And then none of the Republicans and conservatives are going to side with the Democrats because they don't want to make Trump look bad. Do you see the problem with politics? It's one big ball of mess. And people aren't thinking in terms of morals. They're thinking in terms of, will this make my team look bad or will it make it look good? Prime example was Michael Moore. He was right about us being the reasons why we went over there. But yet, because we were conservative, we thought he was a liberal idiot. Don't believe him. That's what happens when you don't stand on principle and you stand on emotion and protecting your team. Remember the Raiders? They were one of the most horrible teams in the NFL, but people loved their Raiders gear and they would defend the Raiders till the end, no matter how many times they lost. Well, here we are again. Idiocracy. Defend your team to the death. Don't say anything to make them look bad. The division is still alive, you guys. Now, what are the liberals saying? Now, this is kind of funny because they are kind of imploding on a certain level. Saturday Night Live. Look at this. They're comparing Trump's felon election to black people still dancing to R. Kelly. I mean, talk about implosion. SNL star Michael Che, or Chi, I don't know how you pronounce his name, drinks on air after Trump victory. Shouts out R. Kelly. If white people can elect their felon, I can dance to mine. Now, this completely ignores the fact that it wasn't just white people or black people or white people, that voted for Trump. People from all walks of life. So this is ignorant at best. At worst, it's just fake news. Now, all this is under the guise of comedy, and this is how they get away with it. Well, let's read this here. And it's cringy. Why would you bring up R. Kelly? For the first weekend update segment following Donald Trump's victory on Tuesday, the co-anchor, Michael Che, appeared to raid his liquor cabinet. How did I let y'all convince me that rural Pennsylvania would pick the Jamaican Indian lady? Che lamented before reaching under his desk for a glass of brown liquid. Clearly, I've been spending too much time around white liberals and their goofy optimism. It wasn't even close. At one point, Trump was so far ahead, they put in Bronny, he added, referring to the NBA superstar LeBron James' son. Let's keep reading here. Che's comedic partner, Colin, just got in his own jabs at the president-elect, mocking Trump's promise of golden age for America. You know, it's weird. We just decoded a movie about the golden age, right? Remember when we compared Caesar to Trump? It was Megalopolis. And then here we are 3 weeks after that decode, and Trump's talking about the golden age of America. Remember, in Megalopolis, it was the world of tomorrow. It's shocking, isn't it? So, let's keep reading here. Y'all gonna let a man with 34 felonies lead the free world and be president of the United States? That's it. I'm listening to R. Kelly again, Jay cracked, continuing to wield his drink as a prop. I already do, but I'm going to stop pretending I don't. If white people can elect their felon, I can dance to mine. Now, here's the big secret that very few people can come to terms with. This statement here has some truth in it. Y'all going to let a man with 34 felonies lead the free world and be president of the United States. And this can actually help people to wake up. The leader of the free world. Look at the candidates we've been given. I'd vote for a plumber before I voted for some of these people. And the intentional stirring of the pot that they do, I would vote for a neighbor before I voted for the people that were given. Intentionally divisive, never meet in the middle, never even try to bridge the gap with their rhetoric. It's always extreme, extreme, extreme to set themselves apart from the other candidate, which of course puts everybody at each other's neck as well. Do you see the problem? I hope you do. Now, let's keep going here. What else is going on with the Democrats? Well, you ready for this? Doubling down on the insanity. What am I talking about? Michelle Obama already facing calls to run in 2028. Here's why she never tried before. You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. Are they serious? Now, here's the proof that these people are insane. Okay, who's Trump's counterpart in the Democrat Party? Let's go into the chat. Let's just have a little fun today. Who would you most closely compare Trump to? An entertainer, a billionaire? Okay. What Democrat do you know who's an actor, a billionaire, that would be Trump's counterpart, that they could actually have a chance to actually put up a fight? Who do you think it is, you guys? One of you knows the answer. Oh my gosh. I can't even believe this clown world. I can't even believe it. Who knows the answer? Who would they have a 10 times better chance of running? If we've been so dumbed down in this idiocracy to think that a rich billionaire, a guy who made his billions by exploiting other people beneath him, if you really think that he has your best interest and it's all about money, okay, because this is what, yes, Rage Against the Machine got it. Oprah, right? Oprah would be his counterpart. And guess what? She's even the right gender because they keep wanting to put a woman to be president, right? To prove their point of women's equality. Okay, this is what they represent. I'm not saying a woman president would be a bad thing, but I would definitely not want a woman liberal president, right? So they could easily run Oprah, and that would, at least they would have a fighting chance. It would be billionaire versus billionaire, right? And you could say, the Democrats could make the argument. Now, I'm not trying to give them any ideas here. I'm just talking out loud, you guys. The Democrats could make the argument, look at this. She's a self-made woman. She started from the real bottom. Okay. She didn't get any help from her dad. Okay. And look at how she tries to bring people together. Look what she's done for people. They could make all those arguments, right? And Oprah might even have a chance to actually go up against Trump, or had a chance to, way better than Kamala. And all Oprah would have had to do was start hanging around the White House and campaigning with Biden and hanging around Biden, right? But there's a reason why they ran Kamala, because they wanted her to lose. This is the whole point of it. And now they're doubling down with Michelle Obama? Really? Like, nobody likes her. Nobody. So, what is going on here? Are they serious? So, Man, I should have, in the thumbnail, I should have put a picture of Oprah next to Trump. Apollo and Artemis or something like that. Now, wouldn't that be a trip if in 2028 they did run Oprah? Wow, that would be crazy. Now, let's get back into this here. What else is going on here? Michelle Obama. I'm not even going to read this article. It's so silly. Wow. Okay, so what else, you guys? I think that might be it. Oh, you ready? You want to laugh? Okay, today is funny day. I know it's been a while. I lost my sense of humor for a while, but I think I'm back on track here, you guys. Okay, it's time to laugh. Okay, because did anyone ever see that? One of the first scary movies I saw as a child was Something Wicked This Way Come. Remember that? Are you ready for this? Wow. Let's play a little bit of this, see if it plays here. This scared me. I was like, whoa. Let's put this on here. I got to refresh the page. Sorry, guys. Okay, get ready to laugh. And if you've got coffee, you might want to drink it because you're going to spit it out once you see this. Now, I'm not trying to make fun of these people, but it's like, really? Remember the astronauts? So we're checking in with NASA today. Remember the astronauts? They're supposedly stranded. Let's see here. Fix this up.
This image from space of a stranded astronaut is
Oh boy.
causing worldwide concern today. Astronaut Sunny Williams looks noticeably gaunt and hollow-cheeked on board the International Space Station. This is how she looked when she excitedly entered the space station back in June. Her 8-day mission, along with fellow astronaut Butch Williams, has been extended by at least 8 months due to a malfunction on the spaceship that was supposed to bring them home. But now there is concern that her health is deteriorating. Dr. Sandra Stankovic is a top space medicine professor at Harvard.
I can't do this. Stankovic, and they've been stuck up there and haven't been able to change their socks and underwear. Wow. Okay. Sorry. Anyway, we're supposed to believe that these people are stranded up on the space station, right? Stankovic, are you serious right now? Oh boy. Okay. I can't do it anymore. Stankovic. Wow. So it's Looney Tunes over here at the Honey Milk Ranch. I guess my new alter ego has to be Elmer Fudd, and I'm chasing deer that just are impossible to catch. So I got in the blind this morning before the show, and I was like, okay, I'm going to stay in the blind till probably, about an hour before the show. And, usually if the deer don't show up by then, they're just not going to show up. So I'm in the blind. I got in the blind before the sun even came up. So I was in there for a couple hours. I'm in the blind. I come back in the house and I start getting my laptop set up and my microphone. I look out the window, which is literally 50 yards away, and there's a whole herd of deer just chomping down on corn. And they're in the shade. You can barely see them, but they're there. And I was like, God, really? Are you trying to tell me something? But I've learned not to second guess God. Like, what if there's some kind of deer disease going around this is why maybe he's not letting me get the deer that I want, So I've learned not to force it. I'm not going to force it. And when it happens, it's going to happen, So literally 20 minutes after I walk out of the blind, a whole herd of deer show up. Like 4 of them were down there, and they're just chomping away. And I'm in the window and I've got, my glass, and I'm looking at them, and they're popping their heads up and they're kind of looking at the back of the cabin going, is there somebody in there? But they can't see me because obviously when you're in the bedroom, it's like you're in a deer blind. They can't see inside, but, oh my gosh. So now I'm Elmer Fudd. I've got my hunting outfit on, with the flaps on the ears and my double barrel shotgun, except I've got a crossbow, of course. It's crossbow season. And, the gun keeps blowing up in my face. Oh, boy. Okay, I thought you guys would get a kick out of that. I like to make fun of myself quite a bit, don't I? But you know what? That's what it's about, being a human being. All right, I'm back in the chat, you guys. Well, I'm not anxious at this point. I'm just sitting there just laughing at myself, I'm like, I've gotten so good at being completely still. Because I'll admit, when I first got in the blind, beginning of season, I was getting everything adjusted. I was probably making a little bit too much noise. So let me tell you what happened with a huge 8-point buck came in, and he was literally 15 yards away from me. But the problem was I didn't have my crossbow up on the ledge because I built that ledge inside the blind. Did not have my crossbow up on the ledge. And this buck, first I just saw horns coming up over the bluff. And then all of a sudden he popped his eyes up and he was staring right into the blind. And over the next few seconds, his whole body emerged, but he never took his eyes off of me. So it was like we were staring each other in the eyes. Now, just before he popped up, a doe had come out, and she was right in front of him. So 'tis the season, right? It's called the rut. And so when they start mating. So the doe comes out, she's heading toward the feeder, but she's mostly focused on eating. And the buck's like looking out, and he's looking right at me. And I was literally paralyzed. My heart was pounding so hard that I felt like he could see me. Of course he can't because I'm in a blind, but he was staring right at me. I could almost smell him, but they continued to proceed closer and closer. The doe came around behind the blind and popped out the other side and was literally 10 feet away from me, 10 feet, feeding on the corn. And I was just like, my heart was pounding because I knew if I lifted the crossbow up onto the ledge, that he would see me move. And I didn't want to lose this opportunity because I've been trying so hard for so long. So the buck put his head down to eat and took his eyes off of me. And I slowly raised the crossbow into position. And I aimed. And as soon as I aimed, literally a nut fell out of the tree. Because these squirrels, I swear they work in tandem with the deer to alert the deer when, that I'm in there. And they literally chewed a nut off the tree and dropped it onto the ground. And the buck and the doe jumped up and they ran about 10 yards and then they stopped, still within range. But now they were a little bit behind the tree line. So what did I do? Well, they froze and then they just started walking away. They're like, oh, something weird is going on here. And so I made a doe sound. It's called a doe bleat. So I'm doing all this research, right? Because I figure, you know what? If I'm going to be out here surviving and when things go into apocalypse mode, I need to know that I can eat, right? Because that's all there's plenty of water here. You have to learn how to catch the wildlife so you could literally survive and you could help other people survive. But if I'm no good at it, if I'm not practiced, then I'm not going to do anybody any good. So I have a bleat call on my phone. This is where I can't even deal with this right now. Because I would see the deer running through the forest because now a lot of the leaves are off the trees. And I'd be fumbling around on my phone to play the doe bleat, and it kind of goes like this. I'm going to try to do a doe bleat for you guys with my voice. It's kind of what it sounds like. But when you play it on a real doe bleat, it's got a little bit of a different pitch to it. Now you can freeze a deer in its tracks by bleating. It won't know that it's a human as long as you're behind a blind, and it'll stop. It'll freeze. It'll be like, what's that? It's a doe. And so anyways, they start walking away. Oh, let me back up. Let me back up to a previous story. Okay. I see the deer running through the forest. I grab my phone and I go to try to hit the doe bleat, right? And I accidentally hit another video. And of course, it's a freaking ad. It's like, come get your sleep mattress. Da, 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 da. The deer are like, oh, there's a human in there. You know, it's the guy, and I'm playing this freaking ad instead of the doe bleat. And so I fix that. So I'm like, okay, how do I make that not happen again? And of course, the deer just run off. They're like, oh, there's a guy in there. So then I finally get this opportunity, and I know that I don't have time to pull up the doe bleat on the YouTube app on my mobile phone. So I have enough confidence to know that I've frozen deer before by doing my own impersonation of a doe bleat. So I go to do the doe bleat, right? I bleat the doe, and the buck stops, literally, like, you know, the buck stops here. He stops, but he's a little bit behind the tree line, and there's a couple stick ups. I take the shot. And I'm like, I must have hit him. He was literally 15 yards away. How could I miss that? I've nailed that shot 100 times on my crossbow. He runs off. Run. I can see him running down the forest. I find the arrow. I can't find any blood. I find the arrow. The back of the arrow's broken. I'm like, how did the back of the arrow get broken where the feathers are? My whole point to telling you this whole story is that people want to criticize hunting. You have no idea how difficult it is. There is, most people will get a hunting license and never even shoot a deer. Okay. The best people even have a time filling all their tags. Okay. My best friend's over here. She's been hunting all her life, and he'll clean the deer. She hunts for him. She can barely fill her tags because she just doesn't have that many opportunities. So, all the sympathy people have for the wildlife, these deer kick our butts. Okay. You're fortunate. It's almost a supernatural thing to actually be able to execute and follow through with actually taking an animal, because they're that smart. They can smell you. They can see you. They have very good hearing. And then when you get the opportunity, by the time you do actually have a shot, you're probably going to just mess it up, because it's very difficult to execute the shot, because you get nervous, you start shaking, all these things happen. Okay. Now, of course, I challenge myself. I use a crossbow, but I want to get good at that. I don't want to rely on, a rifle that I might not be able to get ammunition for one day. Right. But anybody can fashion an arrow and load a crossbow. You can make your own arrows if you needed to. So yeah, that's what happened. I took the shot. It must have hit a tree. I completely missed the animal. I found the arrow. The back of the arrow was broken and the tip was stuck in a pile of mud, not far behind from where I shot. There was no blood, so I completely missed the animal at 15 yards. Now, what happened? Who knows? Only God knows what happened. Maybe the animal was diseased and God was sparing me from some kind of sickness. And this is where you have to have trust in the Lord, that He's going to direct you to, when it comes to hunting and things like this, because this is nature. This is God's domain, right? This is supposedly the balance of it all, right? Where we still have God left in this world is in the wildlife areas. This is where we're supposed to be, the refuge, the wilderness. And so if He didn't want me to get one yet, He didn't want me to get one. So it is what it is, you guys. It is what it is. All right, enough of that. I told you guys I would reserve a lot of these discussions for the backup channel. That's where we do all the Honey Milk Ranch stuff. So if you're interested in all that stuff and seeing footage of the ranch, you got to go to Enter the Stars Reloaded, and there's a link in the description as well as link in the channel page. So I'm back in the chat, you guys. So here we are, November, and I still do not have a deer. So, and it's not for lack of trying. Oh boy. Okay, so His Death Your Hope says Dolly grocery store and PI looks like Little, and peanuts called Mani Mani. I have to drive 4 hours for the river. All right. Thanks you guys for showing up. The elk are smart around here. Believe it or not, Arkansas has elk. Now, they're in northwest Arkansas, in kind of a very small portion, but there are elk in Arkansas. And interestingly, a lot of people blame the elk for introducing the zombie deer disease, the wasting disease. Because before that, there was no chronic wasting disease in Arkansas until the elk showed up. And people think that the elk probably gave it to the deer, which is very, very sad. Sometimes I believe these things are intentional, you know. All right. Pennsylvania has elk too. Wow. You know, I went, 45 years of my life forward. I reached the age of 45 until I found out that there are elk all over America. I had no idea. I just thought that elk were in a few places. I thought they were probably a nearly extinct animal, and they were probably way up in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado or something. And then I come to find out there are elk everywhere. There are elk. And if you have never seen an elk in person, it's better than any zoo experience you've ever been to, okay? Because these elk will walk, they'll be within 10 yards of you during certain seasons. And they are the most majestic and large animal that you could ever imagine. It's kind of like a moose, but it's like way better. Because they're just so beautiful of an animal. Super muscular. They look like horses on steroids or something. And they're all over the place. Elk are actually very plentiful in America. And apparently they're everywhere. Now, unfortunately, I'm all about maintaining populations of animals and stuff, but unfortunately, elk hunting is for rich people. Okay. These tags cost hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, if not thousands. And they're very difficult to hunt for because, hey, if you think a deer is smart, then you haven't been elk hunting, because elk hunting is even 10 times harder. Like, I don't think very, very few people have ever been able to even take an elk with a crossbow. It's something you have to do with a rifle from hundreds and hundreds of yards away because the animals are so smart. So, yeah, there are a lot of elk in America. I had no idea until, I don't know, I just hit this magic age of 45, and all of a sudden I'm seeing elk everywhere and hearing stories of elk and elk all over America. So that's pretty amazing. All right. Yeah, now they have a tag system for animals where you're not even guaranteed to get a tag for a certain species. There's like a lottery or something. And like you may or may not get the opportunity to even try. And then you got to go on these expeditions and spend thousands of dollars to get to the location, and then lodging and tags. And a lot of people are into this $5,000-$10,000 and with no guarantees. No guarantees. Yeah, a lot of you are saying it's the best tasting meat ever. Wow, that's amazing. I've heard that same thing as well. So, but I'm getting close, you guys. The deer are now coming out during the day. See, before they weren't. Now there's kind of a pattern. I'm seeing them more frequently in the mornings. And so I'm just going to tough it out, and hopefully I'll have a deer soon. What I may show you is the butchering process, like not the actual cleaning of the animal, but maybe once I have it quartered, I'm going to show you, because I'm going to actually wet age the deer once I get it. What that involves is, because they have dry aging and wet aging. And when you age the deer a bit, the meat becomes very, very tender. And of course, it's all wild game, grass-fed, acorn-fed, antibiotic-free. I mean, talk about one of the most healthy things you could ever eat. And I felt my health improve. I just feel generally better now that I'm out here kind of eating the natural forage. I got a nutcracker, and I've been eating some of these mocker nuts, these bull nuts, and they're delicious. I made bull nut milk. So yeah, it's been pretty amazing. And then that has all kinds of minerals that you don't get in regular food, because most food is stripped of natural minerals. Okay. So, all right, you guys, enough of that. I guess I'm going to pop off here. I love each and every one of you. And I'll probably see you in a couple days. And we'll be back on here. Much love.